One of the biggest blocks that often stand in people's way when they try and step into their new alter ego to go for their dreams and reinvent themselves, it's not about having enough money, having enough time, or having enough good ideas. Often the biggest block is fear, and what's hiding behind that fear is shame. And today we are going to take our flashlight and shine a light on that sneaky little shame monster who pops up when we try and step into that new version of ourselves, and it tries to hold us back and keep us stuck in the old version of ourselves. But we say, no more. No. We are going to embody this new version of ourselves, push past the blocks, and really go for that life and be the person you really want to be. And I have developed a tool that you can use that we don't just cancel the shame out. We welcome it in and we say, you're here, but you're not going to stop me anymore, because we're going to learn how to flex our shame muscle. Now, I found a quote by someone called Ed Latimore that sums it up so perfectly. The quote is, "Embarrassment is the cost of entry. And if you can't be a foolish beginner, you'll never become a graceful master." Ha! Wonderful. Oh my God. That just is so perfect. I love it. Especially the beginning part, that embarrassment, what was it? Embarrassment is the cost of entry. That's it. Embarrassment is the cost of entry. And, you know, in my mind, I always turn things into a fantasy film. So what I imagine when embarrassment is the cost of entry, I imagine there's the gates of shame. And on the other side is your dream life and the person you want to become. And at that gate, there's two big bouncers. They stand there guarding the gate, and they have swords in their hands, and they cross those swords and they say, "Thou shalt not pass before you have run the gauntlet of shame." And if you are brave enough to step through and into the shame, then you will find your dream life on the other side. But this is terrifying. You know, stepping into shame for most of us feels impossible. Shame is such a big one that really keeps us stuck and trapped. It has such a hold, such a grip on us, and it's really strong. And that's because there's a part of our psyche, if you ever go to therapy or if you look into psychology, there's a part of your psyche called the ego. And the ego's main job is to keep you stuck in familiar patterns that it has learned in your early childhood. And these are good and bad patterns. It doesn't really matter. As long as they're familiar, as long as the ego knows it and can recognize it, it will repeat it over and over and over again throughout your life. So as soon as you want to reinvent yourself and embody a new alter ego, it panics and it sets off what I call the shame alarm. And this shame alarm, I mean, for the ego, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen, is for you to step out and try something new that is a risk in your social environment. So, you know, your people in your environment, they know you as a certain type of person. And as soon as you show up as someone new, for the ego, this is terrifying because you could be a social outcast. And this can feel really dangerous. So what we have to do is try not to just totally delete that shame alarm from happening, because that's just not realistic. It's always going to happen. So we have to find ways of just sitting in that feeling and for it to be okay. So we're going to flip the script on it, and we're going to, when we try to step into a new alter ego and a new version of yourself, and this feeling of shame and awkwardness and embarrassment when you try to embody this new version of you, when that comes in, we try and change our thinking. This is a good thing. This feeling means I am making progress. It means I am stepping out of my comfort zone in order to become the new version of myself. It means I am moving forward and not staying stuck. So this feeling of shame and embarrassment, it's a good thing. It's a sign that, yes, keep going. And it's definitely not a sign to stop. Now, what I found quite interesting is when I talked to a couple of my friends about this shame topic and saying I was going to make this video, they were like, yeah, well, I mean, who are you to talk? Emma, you don't have shame, do you? And I thought, oh, really? You think that? Because of course I do. Every single person, every single human on this planet has shame. There's something they're ashamed about. It's part of our DNA. It's part of our human nature. And, just because I'm an extrovert and I have been a burlesque performer and burlesque teacher, I've also been a dominatrix, and now I'm here on this YouTube channel making these videos, it might look like to you that I don't have shame, but let me tell you, oh, yes, I do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't show up in classical forms like you would think, but when I go to, say, for example, have to go into a classroom setting or an institution, oh my goodness, I turn into this like scared tiny little mouse. Like the big fear and shame that I get, like stepping into a classroom, and like the horror of thinking if I have to answer a question in a lesson, or, of course it all comes down to my experience at school, and then, carrying that fear with me, which is how shame works, right? And so, just try not to always compare yourself when you're thinking, well, she can do that thing, but I can't, and so I shouldn't even try. And just know that everyone holds shame differently and everyone has it. So be gentle with yourself, and just because we beat ourselves up so badly about like all of those insecurities and things that we're embarrassed about, we give ourselves such a hard time. So first of all, I want you to just know that today we're going to give love and attention and care to those shameful parts, okay? So now I'm going to give you the tools about how to flex our shame muscle. And actually, I was on a call yesterday with a client, and it was really interesting because this topic of shame came up. And she is someone who's like really practical, logical, and structured in her life. And so what we're trying to do is to add a more creative and intuitive and sort of a free-flowing energy into her new alter ego. And so part of that was to let go of this fear of stepping outside of the the norm, outside of her comfort zone. And she had the symbol of a snake that she was working with, and she just on a whim thought it would be a fun idea as part of our work to buy this fake snake tattoo and put it on her leg injury, which is the big thing that is causing her a lot of pain and a lot of problems in her life. And to put this fake tattoo there to remind herself that she's leveling up and she's pushing through her fear. And simply by having this tattoo on her leg, when she was explaining it to me, she was even so embarrassed to tell me about it. And she was like, it's such a stupid idea and I'm not going to do it. And because I've got doctor's appointments where I have to show up and they're all going to see the leg and they're going to see this stupid, like childish fake tattoo and it's going to be so dumb. And I said to her, no, actually, it's perfect, because this is where we're going to learn how to flex our shame muscle. Because when you take something that it might seem quite insignificant to some people, but to you it's huge. To her it's big, to put this on her leg. To take this and to step into that shame rather than away from it, and say to yourself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put that tattoo on my leg and I'm going to feel that feeling of shame, but I'm also going to congratulate myself for stepping into that. And I'm going to say, well done, you. We're doing this. And, so you've got to kind of like split yourself into two parts, because there's going to be the inner critic, the shame monster, who's going to be really, really loud. But we've got to also have this other part that comes in. Perhaps it could even be like your new alter ego. So for my client, the alter ego that we're creating for her is one that is very confident and sure of herself. So, you could split it into two parts and just let this other part of you say, no, we're going to step into this shame and we're not going to let it stop us. We're going to keep moving through it. So I want you to think of something that you feel a little bit embarrassed and awkward and shy to do. And it shouldn't be something like, it can be, but it doesn't have to be something like really hugely humiliating. It can be something really small, even something that people in your environment wouldn't even notice. But because it's something you wouldn't usually do. And when you do it, you have this feeling come up in your body. You have this shame alarm come on. So I want you to think of perhaps something small like that you could make a list and have perhaps even like 5 things that you can think of, just small little things. They have to be achievable, otherwise you're not going to do it. So just small little things that you feel a little bit embarrassed to do. And I want you to set a task that you could do one of those things once a week. And when you do one of your flexing your shame muscle tasks, it's quite a mouthful, take a pen and paper and write about what feelings come up when you step into this shame rather than away from it. Tell us, write about what your inner critic says. Write it down. Literally listen to it, because what often happens is we push away the inner critic, and we just let it go on and on and on, but we kind of just block it out in a way, and we try and distract ourselves or move away from it, numb ourselves and get away from it. But for this activity, we're going to pay attention to it. We're not going to just turn away from it. So when you step into this shame challenge, I want you to feel like, where does that shame sit in your body? How does it feel? What is your inner critic trying to say when you do it? And then I want you to bring in this other part of you that's going to talk to your inner critic and say, no, we're rewriting the story. And you tell your inner critic what the new version of you is going to do and why you're doing it and why it's so great and cool and awesome that you're doing it. So then you start to have a really powerful dialogue with your psyche. So you start to observe your thoughts, which is really the first step to shifting through your blocks. Rather than just letting it run, you can step outside of it and observe the conversation that's going on there. What's really important is to congratulate yourself, is to celebrate yourself, because your inner critic is going to try and tell you that you were dumb and stupid and silly and humiliating and you should never do that again. This is what your inner critic is going to try and do, to try and stop you and pull you back. And so you don't even attempt that ever again. But we're not going to let this happen. What we're going to do is celebrate ourselves instead. We're going to be like, oh my God, you're so awesome. You went and you did that thing and we felt so ridiculous and it was so awkward, but we did it anyway. And, we pushed through it and we survived. We're still alive. Oh my God. Because once you start to do these small little shame flexes with our shame flexing muscle, it's just like going to the gym, right? You build up that muscle bit by bit, just really tiny. And then when you go to do the bigger things and take the bigger steps, then you're ready. Then you know this inner critic quite well because you've identified, you've had conversations with it, and you've also built up this other side of you, the inner cheerleader side of you, who is your new alter ego, who is encouraging you, who's empowering, and you've already done that in small little steps before. So when we do the big thing, then wow, you will see the difference. There's a reason why you feel shame. And when you start to do what I call the golden thread of like going throughout your timeline of your life, of where this shame popped up, and you go right back to the original source of it, it's often a really painful thing that we experienced early on in our life. So it's really important to give yourself, your inner child and your wounded part that is reacting to this situation and feeling embarrassed and shamed. We've got to give it some love as well. And this is so important. We don't just abuse it and push it away and say this shame is so stupid. And no, we're going to give it attention, care, love in order to heal it and then transform it into our power to push through so you can reinvent yourself and become your awesome alter ego and go for your dreams and move through those blocks. It's just, sounds so simple, but it's really not. It's so complicated. And this is why I've made this channel, so we can unpack some of these things and try to also have a little fun along the way. This cute little flex your shame muscle challenge can actually be really fun. And I do a workshop, an online workshop, and it's every other Friday and it's free. It's 1 hour. And this is where we get together with my students and we talk about the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations of trying to step into a new alter ego and reinvent your life and trying to embody this new version of you, which is really, it's a challenge. It's not easy. So I have this online workshop where we get together and we talk about those challenges and we support each other and clap and cheer each other on in this creative process. And I would love to see you there. If you want to join, there's a link below, and yeah, come along and let's start your new creation of your alter ego. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you start to flex your shame muscle and move through those blocks. Oh, karate chop. I've got my slippers on here. Just did a karate chop in my slippers. Anyway, sorry, rambling. All right, so I will see you and all of your alter egos for the next video. Goodbye.